Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out today. My name is Matt Puglisi. I'm the Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Economic and Community Development. And just to set the stage, we're here today to announce grant awards from round 20 of the Department of Economic and Community Development's Office of Brownfield Remediation and Development. Brownfields are defined in Connecticut statute as any abandoned or underutilized site where redevelopment, reuse, or expansion has not occurred due to the presence of or potential of pollution in the buildings, soil, or groundwater that requires investigation or remediation before redevelopment or reuse of the property. Brownfields exist throughout the state in municipalities large and small. They can be historic factories in urban centers, mills in the hearts of rural villages. In many cases, these sites have been abandoned or underutilized for decades. DCD is proud to play a key role in helping municipalities return these sites to productive use, whether it's as housing, parks and recreation, commercial, or other productive economic or community uses. Not only are we adding economic benefit with these projects, but we're cleaning up the pollution and the health risks to these neighborhoods. So in this round of awards that we're announcing today, DCD is awarding $20 million. There are 21 properties located in 18 towns throughout the state. The largest award is for $4 million, like the one that we have here today in Enfield. And the smallest assessment-only grant to determine the scope of contamination of work is as little as $150,000. So today we're at the site of the Bigelow Carpet Manufacturing Plant in Enfield. It's just behind us, north of this Eversource site. The town is receiving a grant for $4 million, which will help transform this location into 160 units of housing. 20% of these units will be designated affordable to households earning at or below 80% of area median income. We're highlighting housing specifically as we announce these awards because this round of brownfield funding is supporting the creation of approximately 1,300 new units of housing. So as we start now with our program, Mayor Ken Nelson is here today from Enfield, and over his time in public service, the mayor has served on roles in the Blight Commission, planning and zoning, and also in his private professional life as a real estate agent. So Mayor Nelson is well positioned to speak to what these brownfield programs mean to municipalities and supporting redevelopment of these blighted sites. So I'd like to call up Mayor Ken Nelson.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you everyone for coming out today. What do brownfield grants mean to a town like Enfield? Let me tell you. I was born in Thompsonville. I remember playing at the old train station, running around the abandoned mill, don't tell anybody, that housed the largest carpet manufacturer in New England, trying to get courage to climb the old brick smokestack that no longer exists, only to make it 10 feet and chicken out. Putting pennies on the track. I remember what Thompsonville was. And now, with the help of the state and the vision of the town, I see what it can be again. The vision to create a walkable community with the new train station, the micro-transit pilot program that the governor introduced last year, Magic Carpet, Dial-A-Ride, all programs the state offered years ago and are still going strong today. It's programs like these and the brownfield grants that give a community like Enfield the tools to attract private developers to invest in our community. To have that vision come to fruition is very exciting for Enfield. To be able to attract private developers using the tools the state and town have open up many opportunities to turn around Thompsonville. That wouldn't be possible without the brownfield grants. To see opportunities like the riverfront redevelopment, incredible. Imagine a fishing pier right there on those old pylons. I can now. Connecticut is one of the oldest states in the country. We were a major player in the Industrial Revolution. Unfortunately, with that, Connecticut has many brownfield sites that wouldn't be able to be redeveloped without brownfield grants. To be able to work with the governor and his staff to help move projects like this and others in Enfield forward is something I can say is the highlight of my political career. I want to thank the governor and everyone who has helped us get here today. Thank you very much.
So, DECD would like to acknowledge the legislature and the legislators that are present here from Enfield today. Senator Kissel and Representative Hall and Representative Arnone, I don't think is able to be here today. But in this current biennium budget, DCD had an additional $20 million for the Brownfields program, and we're really grateful because these $20 million, as you see, is helping to advance so many projects. So I'd like to ask Senator Kissel and Representative Hall each to come up and make a couple of comments.
Thank you very much. I will be brief. First of all, I want to just say thank you from the bottom of my heart to Governor Lamont. First of all, Deputy Commissioner Matt Pugliese just couldn't be a more dedicated public servant. He has been the friend of Enfield and North Central Connecticut for years. I want to thank you for your dogged hard work. Changing the brownfields, remediating them, cleaning up, as Mayor Nelson so articulately put, the vestiges of our industrial revolution is a critical down payment on the dreams we have for the future. Look at this beautiful space the way it is now, and just in probably a few years, it'll be just a welcoming gateway for Connecticut on this north-south corridor that we have here, and it's just frankly amazing. But the other thing I want to point out about Governor Lamont, he came here probably about a year ago to award some grants for some senior housing. He is all about housing in transportation areas. We have got that wonderful train station that will be here before we know it with the help of our federal delegation and the initiatives that we've had here as a town. Carol Hall has been dogged in her efforts. I look forward to working with Representative-elect John Santinella, and I've had a great pleasure of working with my cousin, distant cousin, former Representative Tom Arnone. So fundamentally, this is a bright new day. The housing, the workforce housing is a critical component to all of these investments. But Governor, without your vision, Connecticut wouldn't be moving forward as quickly as it has been. And I thank you for everything that you do for North Central Connecticut and the people of Connecticut. God bless you all.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today to actually see what beautiful vision this is. We've got beautiful boards up here for everybody to take a look at. But I want to talk a little bit about where this vision started. I'm looking at Cindy here and Chris Bromson that have been here for over a quarter century in public service. And we go back many years, but this vision of the waterfront was Mary Lou Strom's vision over a quarter century ago. She marched us out to this river and marched us up and down this railroad track and talked about the development of the Levitz property, about the train stop that hopefully we're going to be breaking ground on next year, thanks to the governor's office and everybody's hard work on it. But it was her vision, and it transcended 25 years of town councils. So those were Republican, those were Democrat, and everybody held this vision that she had for over, it's more than 25 years. But I'm really proud to be here today and thank the governor for moving this vision to a reality. This is the first step along with the train station, and I'm excited we're going to be here next year for that groundbreaking. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you to all the councils and the mayors that came before today to make this truly happen and never take it off the radar. So thank you all for being here today, and let's move this forward quick. So thank you.
Thank you. So let's learn a little bit more about the project that we have here today in Enfield that we're highlighting. Honeycomb Real Estate Partners and Grava Properties are partnering on this project, and it's been a pleasure working with Louis Brown and Steve Caprio, Greg Vaca, and Richard Connor. They have decades of experience in regional and global real estate development. So I'd like to ask Louis Brown of Honeycomb and Greg Vaca of Grava Properties to come up.
Thank you. I'm going to stand to the side because I'm vertically challenged. I'm going to repeat some of which has already been said, but really it's worth repeating over and over and over again because it's so important. Thank you, Governor Lamont, as has been said, for your vision and importantly, your prioritization on housing, not only for housing's sake, but as an engine that drives and complements economic growth. This DECD award of $4 million is a critical catalyst, as has been said, for these types of developments, not only ours, but the 20 others that have been awarded in this round. Without these funds, this brownfield site and others would continue to sit, as has been said, unused and dirty in this pristine, beautiful area of the Connecticut River. With these funds, though, we can now begin to move forward, creating this transformational, transit-oriented, mixed-income housing while recapturing this beautiful riverfront and creating amazing, not only private access, but importantly, probably more importantly, public access to this beautiful and untapped area of the Connecticut River. And it's appropriate that we hear the train whistle in the background and that the future residents of these sites will be able to avail themselves of this public transportation going north and south and ultimately east and west as well. All of this, though, importantly, will create economic stimulus for Thompsonville and the broader community. People bring jobs, create jobs, open up storefronts that have long been closed. So with that, I want to once again thank the governor for your vision, for your leadership. Thank DECD, specifically Commissioner O'Keefe, Deputy Commissioner Puglisi, Director Binuchandi, and your team of amazing and dedicated, hardworking professionals. It has been such a pleasure working with you on this and other developments throughout the state. And I want to thank the town of Enfield equally because there has been nothing but support since the first day that we walked in and presented this concept to Mayor and Chris Bromson and this amazing team of professionals as well. And lastly, importantly, and I heard the name mentioned once, the Levitz family, it goes without saying that the patience and persistence of local and state officials has been a part of this, but Marty Levitz, who's here with us today, who was the visionary for Bigelow Commons in the 80s, and his son David Levitz and the Levitz family, has been patiently persistent and never given up on their vision of what this could be. So we thank the Levitz family for sticking in there, and we hope to make this dream a reality soon.
Thank you, Louis. So on behalf of our team, I'm not going to thank everyone that Louis thanked, but it really shows in all these names that it really does take a village, especially to revitalize one. Today these deals are very complicated and complex, and when you have partners in the public sector that you can really count on to share and develop a vision, together, I think that's everything a developer could ask for. So I'd just like to say, there's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And the idea of revitalizing Thompsonville and revitalizing our urban centers, reorienting them around more dense housing and transit is certainly, a key part of what attracts us, to communities like Thompsonville and other communities in central Connecticut. And certainly what attracts folks, like all of you to this type of a ceremony, because this is important. This is a place that has a lot of history, and I think you can see a little bit from the renderings here that we're really leaning into that because of all the wonderful industrial architecture you have here. We plan on reflecting on that, in the architecture of these buildings, but creating housing, creating workforce housing, as was said. So 20% will be for, folks making 80% or lower of the area median income, but also bringing folks to a revitalized part of town that is no longer going to be sort of on the fringes of the town, but will really be a center, really be a main street. And our goal is, through developing this property into about 160 units and a subsequent phase of similar size on what you see as the Eversource property, the old abandoned power plant behind us, really bringing the development to land on Main Street and create a place to attract people, to attract vibrancy, to activate the waterfront with a new, marquee public park and running trails and other outdoor amenity for the town, to bring people, to pull them down Main Street and bring them to this place. So it's a very large-scale, vision. It's not our vision; it's the vision of the town and the state that the folks have been working on for decades. We are here to take that and together with our partners in the public sector to run with it and to develop this into the best thing that we think it could be, which is a place for life and vibrancy like it was 100 years ago. So thank you so much to the governor and to everyone else, and we really look forward to taking the next step and moving this forward.
So Commissioner Dan O'Keefe came to state service from an investment background, and during the year he's been commissioner at DECD, he's been hyper-focused on maximizing private investment in our state and taking an active role in catalyzing development. Commissioner?
Thank you so much, Matt. Proud to continue the theme of guys with the same haircut. I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about brownfields and what brownfields really mean to a state and to an economy and to a community. Brownfields are really a reminder of our past. And not only that, but a reminder of the mistakes of our past, because let's face it, we didn't actually do things back then to the highest standard. And these properties tend to be sticky. They tend to, eventually the economic use case moves on, they become abandoned, and then they just sit there. And they sit there because the private profit motive to remediate these things is oftentimes unknown, and it becomes a challenge to get these things to move. That is why programs like these, like brownfields, are so incredibly important. It is what gets that movement. And it allows us, as a community, as a state, for our economy to move on from the mistakes of our past, to start to really think and imagine what it can look like in our future. Now, we do have one more challenge in front of us that I want to talk about publicly, which is the Transfer Act. The Transfer Act is the mechanism through which these sites are remediated. It is a regulatory standard. We were early to the game with this, but now we're one of only 2 states which still has it. We, the DECD, are working in close partnership with our friends at DEEP to evolve that standard towards a release-based standard. I just want to publicly continue to call for the support for this change. It'll allow programs like these to be more effective and efficient, and it will allow more of these sites across the state to be remediated. It will allow us as a community and in our communities to really look towards our future. So very excited to be here today, very excited about this project. Thank you all for coming out, looking forward to seeing what it looks like in a few years. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan. So just before we move on to the governor, I want to call out Banu Chandy and the entire Office of Brownfield Remediation and Development that are here. Governor Lamont, they are the real engine behind this program. So, Governor, thank you and your administration for the support of this critical program. I hope I'm not stealing any of your thunder, but during your time in office, DECD has supported 130 projects with approximately $125 million of state funds, impacting about 2,000 acres of contaminated, blighted sites across the state. This latest round of $20 million is leveraging $500 million in private funding. Over your time in office now, sir, we are up to a leverage of $2.5 billion from the state funds in private funding. And DECD is very appreciative of your support of this impactful program. Governor Lamont.
Well, thanks, Matt. We get the same talking points. Now what do I say? I'll tell you what I say. Ken and John and Carol, people of Enfield, we keep coming back here because I think Enfield gets it right. And you've heard a vision of what this town is and where it's going, and a dream of how we get that done. And speaking of which, going off topic a little bit, one of my favorite movies is Field of Dreams. Maybe you saw that, Kevin Costner, James Earl Jones, and they would just build out in that cornfield and build it, and they will come. And it's a little bit easier developing in places like Iowa and Field of Dreams. It's a little trickier here in the state of Connecticut. You know, we have a long history, and some of our most beautiful parcels were along rivers like this, and industry came along here just because they could use this for power and transportation and the such. And we have to do everything we can to reclaim this to make sure we get maximum value for our people here. Look, when it comes to development, I don't want to take people's backyards or anything. I want to redevelop what we can right here. And that's what Brownfields is all about. You know, in this current round, we've got about 20 million bucks. We're doing 150 acres to developers. We're trying to get this done now, ahead of the game. So you come forward and you say, this is land that's ready to be developed, and speed up the development process, make it just a little more effective for you, make this possible. And it's part of a bigger puzzle as we think about Enfield and in this region, you know, and the state. As I think about it, you probably see we just got a big investment going on in the New Haven to Springfield rail line. They're going to have double tracking going for more frequent rail service. The idea that this is additional units of housing right next to a rail station where it's easy access to and from. And that this rail is going to connect Springfield to Boston as well as they build that out. So you can get a sense of where the trajectory is. But at the end of the day, for the first time in a long time, a lot of people want to move to the state of Connecticut. And the only thing that's holding us back and what that means in terms of economic development and opportunity is housing. And that's why to each of you here in Enfield, I'm so proud of what we're able to do together to liberate this piece of property, this beautiful piece of property overlooking the river, and what it means in terms of the bigger picture we got for the state of Connecticut. That's why we're here today. A lot to celebrate. Thanks, everybody.
So it's a little bit chilly. I appreciate everybody standing out in the cold. I think we have time for a question or two, if there's any.
Are there, so among the 21 developments, is there an estimate of how many units of housing will be built total?
So 1,300 units roughly across all of the project sites. All right, great. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.